Hey everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here again today with another project for Vicky Bouton's Storyteller collection. Today I wanted to challenge myself to use a lot of there's two different ephemera packs in this collection, and I wanted to challenge myself to use as much of it as I could, and not a lot of pattern paper. Although I guess I kind of cheated in the end and used quite a bit of pattern paper, but a lot less than I normally typically would. So I'm actually just using the floral pack right now and just sorting things out. I have the sheet there on the right that actually came from the packaging that I clip out and keep in a zip bag with all the ephemera. And I'm just kind of using that as a reference to sort through what sort of pieces that I might want to use. I'm realizing that I do want a little more color. So I really love this tile pattern paper, and I am going to use a little bit of that just to bring in a little bit more color so that when I add the ephemera, it kind of makes a little more sense because a lot of the ephemera is very multicolored. So I do have a little strip of that here, and I'm just trying to piece together what I want to use, where I want to put it, and that sort of thing. I have these photos. As you can tell, I'm playing around with placement and trying to decide where I kind of want to put everything. And I actually end up going in a totally different direction with everything. So you'll see in a few minutes. But I'm just sorting through. And what I like to do with ephemera is kind of go through and pick my favorite pieces that I know I want to use and sort them into different piles. And ones I know just I'm not feeling that particular day or don't go with my photos, I kind of put them back in the baggie just to keep my workstation kind of relatively clean, because there's a lot, as you can see, of ephemera in this one package alone. So it can be a little overwhelming. I decided I wanted to go with a lot of the florals for this page, just because these pictures of my daughter just make sense to have a lot of florals. So I am going to do that. And I'm going to keep the butterflies handy because I'm thinking I may use some of them, and I'm not 100% sure yet. But I am going to start off by just kind of adding this die cut here, this piece along the bottom edge of the photo. So I know for sure I'm going to do that. That gets my title kind of sorted. And I have a whole bunch of foam tape here on the back of my photo. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of commit to where I want to put that. And that kind of makes my guesswork a little bit less in the end. If I start sticking things down, I feel like I have to commit to what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and use this here and stick it down where it is and just kind of commit to that. So I'm going to stick down my tiled paper. I just love that paper. It looks so distressed and pretty. And just kind of slightly overlap it underneath one of my photos. And that is just a great way to have everything kind of meld together naturally. I did have a little strip of paper here. It's like a bit of a coral polka dot. I'm going to add that just to kind of add a little splash of color, because I am going to add a lot of these florals here onto the left. So now what I want to do is add some foam behind each of the flowers. These are pretty large die cut flowers, so I don't want to overwhelm everything. So I'm going to kind of tuck them in and around my photos, starting with the bigger ones, and then I'm still just placing down these other ones. I haven't taken the backing off quite yet. So I'm just going to kind of place these as I go. Some of the larger ones I'm just going to go ahead and commit to, and then tuck the smaller ones in as I go. So now I'm going to stick down that purpley, pretty purple one underneath just slightly my title. And then I want to add some leafy bits to everything. So these really pretty, sorry, I'm going to move my title a little bit here. There's really pretty leafy die cuts that are in there. So I'm trying to decide what to do. I do have a smaller one here and a larger. So I think I'm going to use the smaller one, increase it a bit, and just kind of use that to fold over top of my photo. But then I end up moving it over to the other side and deciding to use two little leaves together that I usually staple these together just to keep them in place. Because usually the staple is hidden kind of underneath something else. Or if you have like a larger glue dot or something, like I'm going to do here, you can have that overlap kind of both the intersect where they meet. And that's going to kind of fill in that area there to keep them in place where you want them to be and not hanging around all over the place. So I'm going to add this larger leaf branch so that it kind of goes down onto the page. But then I realized I really have a lot of open space, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to best manage that. These flowers are quite large, so I want to make sure that they're kind of the star of the show, but I really like this journaling card that's on one of the cut apart sheets in the collection, and had it been smarter, I would have stuck it down first, but I thought I'm going to add that in as a bit of a layering element. And I am just going to kind of pop some of these things up a little more with foam, just because when I moved things, they unstuck a little bit. So I'm going to stick that down. I do like the journaling card there because of that edited kind of bannered texture that's on there. It looks like it, I mean, it was printed on there, but it looks like it's not a plain piece of white paper. So now I'm going to use that kind of as a bit of a base, and then add more florals kind of in around. I know I've moved the purple one from where it was, so that just gives me the ability to add in some other items. I thought about butterflies, but to be honest, I ended up skipping the butterflies, but I really like this vellum tag, and I thought that that would fit in that area nicely there underneath the photo. And I'm just adding adhesive where the gold portion is, because the gold will help hide that adhesive part. And then I'm going to go back in with the purple flower again and just kind of use that to kind of cover up that edge there on the left hand side. And now it's just a lot more digging through the embellishments. When there's so many choices, sometimes it's hard. I did love this typewriter, but I liked the cluster and the size of it, so I wanted to just trim that piece off and try to use that in my, as like a layering element in my cluster. So instead of using the whole typewriter, which I did not have room for, at least this way gives me the ability to have just a little bit more extra. I don't end up using, I think, that one, but you never know. I can't remember what happened with that, but I ended up cutting off this little floral cluster off this other piece of ephemera as well. Just because the ephemera is made the way it is doesn't mean you need to keep it that way. So I'm going to use this here just to add another kind of leafy area up above my photo. And the rest of the ephemera that's in this pack that has the leaf sprigs are quite large, so I didn't want to kind of add anything that's going to overwhelm. And I kind of really like this bird, and I'm not normally a bird person, but I kind of love the patterns that are on there, how it's kind of a patchwork sort of bird, and that just fit perfectly in that gap that I kind of created myself there. Thought about adding this floral there, but it just wasn't working, so I decided to tuck it under here on the left hand side and popped up just the edges, just so the top kind of edge kind of lifted a little bit more than what's stuck underneath, and that gives it a bit of a, cleans up that left edge area there. So that's quite a few different embellishments out of the package, so I'm kind of proud of myself that I got a lot of them used, and because they're gorgeous and I don't want to waste them. And I'm trying to think of any other things that I might be able to add. So I'm going to clean up the floral embellishments and just put that aside for now. I'm going to grab the tag one. It kind of, there's a lot of tags and little windows and things like that. I am going to use this one down here on the bottom. It almost like melts into the background of the page. And I love these tickets, so I'm going to add this one here with some foam and just pop that up. That's just going to cover up that edge there where the leaf did not quite balance out. I'll stick that other one, that numerical one, just under, just to create some really easy layers using the ephemera. Sometimes it's good to challenge yourself to use only one sort of product on your page so that you really are limited and you have to be a little more creative than you might normally do. So these tags are really good though, because there's a lot of different sizes and variation, and I almost wish I'd seen those small little photo frames, because I hadn't, and I wished I had. I'm actually going to just cut these library cards off, layer them together. As you can see, I just stapled them to hold them in place, and I'm going to lift up my photos for like the third time probably, and layer them underneath. So I'm just going to tuck it in there as much as I have to, and that's just going to add another layer above that top corner. Now, why I put that up there is whenever you have like one run of paper kind of along one side and then an open area, it's good to have things kind of overlap and tuck so that there's like a smooth kind of natural guidance with your eye. Now, washi is seriously, I think this one here, this floral one, is the prettiest washi tape I think I've ever used. And it's really good just to add little tiny pieces of goodness. I love adding them as like a layering piece right here, like on the journaling cards. It just adds a little pops of color and pattern as well. So I'm going to rip this one in half because it is a wider washi. And then I'm going to rip it shorter as well, just to get it to fit into where I want, because I do want a little bit more color other than that teal down along the bottom. And that's just a really easy way to add a layer, and you don't have to fiddle with adhesive, which makes it even better. Stick that card down, And I think I'm going to add gold because why not add a little bit of shimmer as well. It's kind of nice to have that, just that tiny little sparkle in around. So usually when I do this, I'll do a couple different pieces just so I don't have like one little blob of glitter in one area. So at least there's a couple different shiny areas to kind of balance each other out. I thought about adding like a larger title onto that journaling card, and I thought, no, I'm just going to stick with the ephemera one that I have. I do love these little stickers here that I think are intended for planners, but I really find that they are a decent size for scrapbook pages. So I thought about using some of them stickers to cover up some spots on that journaling card, but I didn't. I do love these tiny little words that are in there, and I often use those just to add a little touch here or there, but I decided not to this time. I do love the hearts though on this sticker sheet, so I am going to add a few different hearts on top of some of the other elements just to kind of layer them around, and then I'll add one of the larger hearts that are on here because they have like a lot of nice color and texture, and just adds little tiny subtle pops of color. So I'm just trying to decide which heart I want to use, and I am going to use foam, of course, to stick that down. And that's, again, that heart there is just going to cover up that gap that I kind of created. And I really just want to use more, but sometimes you have to learn to know when to stop. So I thought about, again, sticking this in here, but I don't think I will. I think I'm going to leave things mostly the way they are. I am going to add a little bit of black ink to the background, but you can see how everything is nicely layered. The embellishments just flow with each other well, whether you use stickers or the vellum or the flowers, it doesn't matter. The chipboard, everything kind of just goes together, makes everything really, really fun, really easy, and I think kind of pretty too. So I hope you've enjoyed this project. I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.